Few of them match.
I've seen that truck there.
Good morning, it's Monday, March 18th, 2024, 9 a.m. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented. Second.
I have a motion by Scott and a second by Nathan. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item 3, discussion of possible action to approve claims dated March 18th, 2024 in the amount of $377,546.57.
Move to approve.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Kurt. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 4 is a public hearing on proposed amendments to the fiscal year 23-24 Muscatine County budget. So we are currently in a public hearing. Kayla, did you want to go through some of the?
Sure. So you guys all received the full detail sheets that explain each line. This year, we're looking at decreasing expenditures and increasing revenues. So that's going to give us an overall net increase of about $1.5 million. Do you want me to go over some of the larger adjustments, or does anybody have any questions?
let's do
Okay,
these.
so we'll do this by service area. We'll start with service area 1. We're looking at repurposing some full-time salaries in the jail for part-time contracted nurses, and that's allowing us to reduce all the benefits there that's tied with the full-time position. We are increasing food and provision and juvenile detention. In service area 3, most of those are due to grants that were not budgeted, that we received after the budget was finalized. Service area 6, we are closing out the FEMA and CDBG grants. Conservation is requesting additional funds to purchase a mower. And then we're adjusting outside agencies and libraries because we still had the amounts that were requested rather than allocated. And that ended up working in our favor because we were able to give our economic development revolving loan grant back to the state, where they were able to repurpose it to the city in a grant for neighborhood revitalization. So we're making those adjustments under that area. In service area 8, we are increasing expenses for election workers. But if you look down to service area 9, we were able to repurpose general auditor's office salaries to cover those election expenses. The other increases in service area 9 are due to liability insurance increases.
Well, we've been told to,
Yeah,
that
that's,
is-
I think a 40% increase is what
Is that-
everybody's looking at.
That's what we budgeted next year, so that's in line with what we budgeted, but
we had
our
budgeted
renewals
higher for
are-
next year, but, our policy for a long time ran December 6th to December 6th, which is just a pain in terms of trying to budget. So the cycle we're in right now, when we're renewed in December, it only runs through June. So we'll be on a
Now
fiscal
we're gonna
year
get it
going
on.
forward. But what that means is, we paid for a short year already, but in June, we're gonna need to start paying for next fiscal year. That's why we're doing a budget amendment this year, is because we're gonna pay some of next year's, we'll pay some of next year's cost before that date.
Capital projects, we received a grant to replace some hot water heaters at the jail, so that's reflected in both the expenditures and revenues. For the ARPA projects, we're reducing expenditures for, our secondary roads project that crossed over fiscal years, and those are now complete. And then we're increasing the revenues there due to interest and reimbursements. So that gives us our total of, reducing expenditures $183,798 and increasing revenues about $1.3 million. Do you have any questions on any of those?
Nope. Any members of the public wishing to address board? If not, I would accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I would move to close the public meeting.
Second.
A motion by Scott, second by Nathan. This is a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is now closed. Item A, 4A is discussion of resolution 03-18-2401, amending the fiscal year 23-24 budget.
So moved.
I have a motion by Nathan,
Second.
second by Scott. This is a roll call vote. Any discussion? Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2, resolution 03-18-2402, fiscal year 23-24 budget appropriations.
So moved.
I have a motion by Nathan,
Second.
second by Kurt. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Item C, resolution 03-18-2403, transferring funds from the general basic fund to the conservation equipment reserve fund.
I move.
I have a motion by Danny.
Second.
I have a second by Nathan. Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Danny?
Aye.
And Kurt?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5 is discussion of possible action to approve a Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau, LE, law enforcement, I believe, highway safety grant application, the amount of $63,644 with Captain Jeff Mullen. Oh, well, Sheriff Quinn Reed.
I'm more photogenic than Cat Mullen is, so.
Poor guy.
I know, well, the bar's set pretty low. This grant we apply for and receive every year. We've gotten a GTSP grant for 30-some years. So that's what we're bringing forward.
This is the application and not the award.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
I'll move.
Motion by Danny,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same? Thank you. Item number 6, items with County Engineer Brian Horowski. Item 6A is discussion possible action to approve various utility permits.
Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
We have one utility permit today. Sorry, gotta find my notes here. It is from Eastern Iowa Light and Power of Wilton, Iowa. They are requesting to install a new overhead service line, electrical service line at 3182 150th Street. Pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Kurt. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same? Motion carries. Do you have anything else this morning, Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak briefly. Last week we had a Region 9 Transportation Committee, Technical Committee meeting. There wasn't really all that much to note other than at the end of February, they opened it up to another round of STBG grant funding. The grants were due at the end of February. There were a grand total of four grants that were put in. It sounds like we're really not going to review them though for a couple of months. They have to do some number crunching. They wanted to go through the more of the technical stuff before they presented it for the technical committee to review. So I'm guessing the policy committee probably won't see that until June, July, whenever you guys' meeting is then. So it'll be a little while, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I believe we meet next week. This week or next week? Policy
I think
committee.
it's next week.
Next week, so. And I haven't seen it on an agenda. I don't think I've seen an agenda yet. So.
Like I said, all that was even spoken to at our meeting was that four were.
This is additional SCBG funding coming in?
Yes, so it'd be year 27 and 28.
Okay.
So,
So it's those awards, okay.
yep. So they usually do. I think the last one was in 21. I think that's when the last time Keith they opened it up. So
Okay.
that's all I wanted to report on. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Item number 7, discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2024 regular meeting.
I'll move. Second.
Motion by Danny, second by Kurt. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Correspondence, Scott.
I had nothing to note.
Nathan?
I had some discussions with some legislators and some various folks about certain bills involving energy, a couple different ones. One that would restrict local governments, both counties and cities, from imposing any regulation on basically any kind of power generation, infrastructure, et cetera, that isn't in line with exactly what the state does. So basically destroying our ability to have any kind of individualized rules. Also met with a group of folks who I believe they were concerned about nuclear power plant. I have no indication a nuclear power plant is being considered by anyone, but I think they met at the behest of a lobbyist who was interested in talking about something that they thought might increase electric rates for Iowa consumers for the purpose of building power capacity and generation that would benefit other states. So a lot of discussion, a lot of very interesting stuff. I learned a lot, and that's what I had.
I think we got an email from someone thanking us for a zoning
Yeah, that
change, and then
That was Kayla Carlston.
Kale Carlston, and she was interested, I think, in providing services or understanding on mental health, and I haven't reached out to her. I may just get back to her and tell her she should talk to Jessica.
I spoke to Kayla a little bit about that because she was asking about those opioid settlement funds.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, maybe if she could apply a permit or an application for some. It sounds like you guys are working on what we
A
can use that
process of
for.
what could,
Well, we have the funds, but we haven't established a process, so.
Right, and, because at this point, we're still not clear about how much we're actually gonna receive.
yeah.
I mean, we have received some, and I just got an email on Friday about 8 different payments they're making. Some I knew were coming, some were new ones that I didn't know about, so our thought process was we really need to have some idea of what kind of funds we're dealing with before we start figuring out what to do with them.
Well, and I think, actually, I think if, the state is, with the reorganization and the legislation coming through in 25, combining behavioral health and substance abuse services within the state of Iowa, I think it would be probably best that the county not look at funding anything in those and use it more for direct cost kind of initiatives, maybe legal help or whatever, because there's a lot of work going on in all of that funding streams related to mental health, substance abuse, counseling, aging, all of those things. And I think if the county were to get involved, we might just complicate the process. So that'd be my thought. So I had that note. I got an email, and I saw it was copied, Nancy, to you, Ron Manahan, thanked the board for the time, and kind of reiterated what we think we had come out of it. We had an update on that Energy Champions meeting, where they're gonna have some kind of a meeting in the MCC for the public. It's been out there. Somebody from Crawford Company is gonna go over heat pumps. I had the call from Ms. Glenny that you did, Nathan. I was unable to attend that. Had on the 12th, Thursday, had a GMCCI advocacy committee. I had a call from Dan Freeman of Muscatine indicating support for adding a position in the auditor's office. And I'll call this a correspondence too. On the 14th, which was Thursday, the Homeland Security was here in town. I attended a meeting on levee safety. So the state has now created an Office of Levee Safety within the Homeland Security. They're just getting rolling. They're doing their, I don't know how many city tour. They said Brian and Eric were there, and Chris Jasper and a number of others. But bottom line is they're out looking at levees, who's certified, who's not certified, do they have operational budgets and plans, and the state government, it looks like they're gonna start trying to understand if we're vulnerable or where we're vulnerable with our levy issues, and I think that's good work. Danny?
I had that same call that Nathan had with that Diane Glenley about that energy grid concerns. I had an email from Heather Stanzel from Madison County. She had concerns with Senate File 411. So I think we got a couple emails from her, concerns about removing local control for wind and solar projects in the county. I didn't respond or anything to that. I just read it and took it into consideration. Got that email from Eric for this, on the 21st, we have that comprehensive plan meeting for the public from 6 to 8 at the Environmental Learning Center, if anybody from the public wants to attend that meeting. And I got that same email that you referred to with that Kayla Carlston, thanking us for that special use permit. That's it.
Yeah, I received the phone call from Diane Glenny, same one that Nathan received, and also the email from Kayla Carlston on for the special permit. Thank you.
It was good that Nathan was able to, I know she was pretty concerned, and, you know, she called me, I got ahold of me at 5:30 on a Wednesday night, and the meeting was at 10 on Thursday, and I'd already committed to the
Yeah, it's the
homeland.
same thing
We
I
all,
had.
I know we all had busy schedules, so it's good that Nathan could make that and see what was up. Committee reports. Kurt, did you have any committee reports?
I
last
had
week?
none.
Danny?
I had none.
I had none. Nathan?
Didn't have any meetings. We had an e-vote, which we frequently have to do in the decategorization board to shift money to continue funding a school navigator mental health program. And that was it.
I had no committees.
Okay. Item 10 are items with the administration office. Nancy, did you have anything?
I
for the board
don't
this
think
morning?
we have anything.
It just says others, so.
Yep.
Holy buckets.
Next is to receive information from county employees. I think the Tybee, well, Jim, you
can
got
go
something?
first.
Yeah, let's-
Just wanted to let you know, the worker we have assigned to the fine collection turned in a resignation last week. Nancy was kind enough to get the position out to the public by Tuesday. I got the resignation on Monday, so I think we'll see come the end of the application period what we get. In terms of qualifications, just wanted to remind you, when we moved that office from the courthouse to the main office, we had 2 people at the courthouse and we downed it to 1. And we were able to do that because the person had some experience in the office that made that a little bit more efficient. And I'm not sure, depending on what we get for applications, how that's going to sort out. We'll know more at the end of the application period. I just wanted to put it on your radar so you were aware that right now we're looking for a new hire.
With, Jim, with some of the legislative changes around fine and fine collection, are we still finding good value in that? Do you think it's serving I know that, you know, I know the work that group did was always really good and helpful to people that had gotten in trouble trying to get their way out and all that. And are you still feel pretty good about that?
Yeah, I think, we're bringing in more than we budget, so it's a positive, but I think it would be fair to say that folks around the state have made it a little bit more difficult to collect, and including the legislature. They made some changes to temporary restricted license that allow people to get their driver's license to go to work that haven't addressed their fines necessarily, which was a bit disappointing. And then there's always, I think there was a recent move by maybe the Department of Revenue to keep monies held back for the state. So it's I think we've had, and we can always expect, a bit of clawback from others who want to get some of the monies. But if we can keep it at a one-person job, I think it's a good thing. If it goes to 2, then I think we obviously get much closer to the threshold of whether or not it's worth it. It is it creates a lot of traffic in the office, and some of the traffic's not positive traffic, because people, they haven't paid. Now you're forcing them to pay. They usually have an emergency, like a driver's license or a car registration, and so they want it, and they want it now. And immediacy is not something that system produces well. Even if they sign a payment plan and pay, we got to notify the DOT. DOT has to say, okay, DOT has to actually issue a license, and so all of that takes time, but it's not particularly immediate. So, you know, I continue at initial appearances every week to look at folks that are charged with driving offenses that that owe monies to the state, and in a lot of cases, if they owe a couple $1,000s, I'm not recommending fines anymore. Trying to take a different approach to secure payment, usually with some suspended jail time, and you have to pay everything within a year, and if you don't, then you're facing a jail time. So, you know, that's it. But you have to know what they owe and have that information available when they come to court, that kind of a thing. So, I mean, I think there's value there. I just don't know what we're going to get, and again, I just didn't want to. I wanted you folks to be aware of the fact that we could hire a capable person and we could not hire somebody capable of doing it on their own, which would create, you know, a bit of a challenge for us. So just an FYI.
Okay.
Okay.
Tybee, I think you wanted to go over a couple of things this morning.
I do. I want to inform the public of the House File 718 required tax. It's called a budget year statement to owners and taxpayers. The board each has a sample. These were samples that were run last Monday, and so the process has begun because by state legislation that happened in the last session, this House file occurred stating that auditors, counties had to send out this notice. If you look at the statement, there is a disclaimer statement here at the top right that explains, this statement informs you of the upcoming school, county, and city public hearings where proposed property taxation for the next fiscal year will be presented. And then within the statement, each of us that are parcel owners in Muscatine County will receive one of these per parcel, and the districts that you could attend their public hearings are listed here. So I've given you a sample for someone who has property in West Liberty and another sample of someone who has property in Muscatine. And as you can see, the information was pulled from the Department of Management after 4 p.m. on Friday, March 15th, so that those public hearings could be dropped into this template. This is a template used throughout the state. All property owners will receive the same type of notice. On here are your different districts. It starts with school, shows a public hearing, it will show a phone number for that district and also for the county and for if you live in a city district. On the back side, shows if any of your taxing is taxing authority by a TIF. On your sample, this shows 0 because that had not been corrected yet. These were samples, as I stated, run last Monday. I'm working with a mailing service out of Waterloo. This is a very quick turnaround. We couldn't even download this information until Friday night into Saturday, and then it goes onto these templates. And for our county, we'll have around 15,000 of these sent out, and they have to be postmarked by March 20th. So they put us in a position where they have to be proofed yet. When I receive that proof today, to determine that they did pull into the right taxing and tax rates, the right public hearing information, as well as if you're in a TIF.
So they give you 5 days to proof everything and
Yes.
get it out there. That's really nice of them.
Smaller counties were working over the weekend and printed their own. Of course, they had the cost, as we will too, for the mailing, but they had the cost of their own paper, making sure they had the envelopes, the postage, and the manpower to do that.
And the state has naturally allocated money to compensate us for this extra work that they've given us, right?
They have not. That was part of my budget amendment, anticipating that this
So
will cost
amazing.
somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to send this out, so everyone's
Does that
notified.
include do you think that 10,000, that's just the mailing cost?
That is not my staff's time.
So that's just mailing cost?
Or mine, or the frustration of working with multiple systems in order to make this occur. To interpret this tax mailing, at the very bottom of the second page, there is a link that you can go to if you want further explanation from the Department of Management on what this statement means. But I will be preparing samples after I receive proof, hopefully today. And I will share those with you, as well as I felt like different offices in our building, in case someone walks in, the public doesn't understand, this is brand new to everybody. People might walk in and haven't even read that disclaimer at the top. At least they can be directed as to when these public hearings are gonna happen
This is
and
gonna-
why they got
This
the
is gonna
mailing.
generate a lot of calls and questions, because one, you know, people will think it's some kind of tax or something.
Yep.
And then it's not clear, you know, it's just a lot of words, a lot of stuff for people to digest.
Yeah, the few things, I mean, there's very little in bold
Yeah.
or highlighted. The mailing service is going to put multiples in one envelope, so that if you own multiple properties in one tax district, you wouldn't be receiving multiple mailings. It's gotten a lot of talk within the auditors groups, of course, and with state legislators, just to understand that. And the intent is, if it's been mailed, the intent is there. Obviously, you can find this public information, public hearings in other ways. This time, we'll each get our own personal mailing.
One parcel per envelope, is that correct? Is that what you said?
No, multiple parcels should be in the same envelope.
Okay.
But that's per the mailing service stating that under a contract.
So I'm looking at their effective tax rate. The effective tax rate would be a rate produced by holding current taxation constant while using next year's taxable values. So what is that attempting to communicate?
If taxes didn't change, what your tax,
If they don't,
How-
if the
if the
levy
rate
is
didn't
not
change.
modified, that what the,
this is what you pay, yeah.
so it's, okay.
Not sure how helpful that is, but.
Okay,
Yip or yay.
it'll cause a lot of questions, good. All right. Any other county employees wishing to address the board? Eric, did you wanna say anything about the 21st?
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of things on Facebook, so I wanna make sure people know where it is and what to expect and process and.
Glad Danny mentioned it. I was going to. We definitely want to invite anybody in the public that's interested. This is our first public input session. We will be scheduling and holding another one probably in the West Liberty area at a later date. This is public's first opportunity to come in and kind of just share their feelings on, you know, overall land use. It won't be necessarily a Q&A or back and forth or developing the policy. This is, we'll have copies of our current land use maps, our future land use maps as they stand now, our maps of prime farm ground, floodplain, that type of thing for the public to see what the guiding documents are that we use currently and help us to, and provide input as to visions for the future for where we would want to encourage different types of land use in the county. Also input ideas on, you know, transportation and housing and just all types of things, recreational opportunities, just everything that goes into the comp plan. It's an opportunity for the public to share ideas, and then the steering committee and our staff and by-state staff kind of takes all of that and summarizes it in conjunction with other public input sessions, and then we'll have public hearings where the zoning commission decides how to, public hearings where the public is still invited to those, how we start to implement the public's vision and come up with strategies for implementation of those visions for the future.
And in the comprehensive plan process, you don't really talk about, it's not really zoning ordinances you're gonna talk about. Those are kinda, you know, what's allowed in ag, what's allowed in commercial.
We can, because those can be some of the, you know, some of the issues that are discussed. Do we need to encourage a certain type of land use more through our ordinances? How are the, you know, do we, renewable energy will be talked about. It's a hot topic nationwide.
Right.
Where is the best fit in the county for renewable energies or any kind of other, excuse me, industries?
are we doing a good enough job of protecting agriculture? Investments in roads and bridges, that type of thing. And then that is what guides our development of a specific zoning ordinance, is what the public vision and you folks on policy, at the policy level, how do we implement that policy? And that is through the specific zoning ordinances. So, yeah, just come, we'll have, so it'll be Thursday night, this Thursday, the 21st, from 6 to 8 at the Discovery Center, Environmental Learning Center on Cedar Street.
In the classroom.
Yep, in the big public meeting room, yep. So, and then I heard you talk about that special use permit, that was just granted by the board of Ms. Carlston's. You haven't seen it yet because it was just granted on Friday, it'll be on your
Oh, so
agenda.
we haven't even approved
When
it. I didn't recall it.
It's
so
a
that's-
special
Yeah, I
use,
didn't either. I was going,
Well,
I don't remember recalling it.
Review? or
Yeah,
do
we just
approve?
reviewed.
on special use permits, you
Yeah,
just
that's what I thought.
review, because those are already land uses that are considered typically, consistent with that zoning district, so they just look at them on a case-by-case basis, can attach certain conditions. The variances, you folks have to take action to remand it back or not, but I always bring them through just for you to review, so you know what was granted by the Board of Adjustment. There was one granted, I'll give you some more details on that on Monday.
We appreciate her gratitude, but
Yeah.
we didn't do anything yet.
Right, really good, right.
And really, it's the Board of Adjustment that does that. So,
Normally, we get crap for stuff we didn't do. We never get thanked for stuff we didn't do. I mean, that's kind of amazing.
Okay, any other county employees? Next is to receive comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board? Seeing no one come forward, it's 9:32 and the meeting is adjourned.